All right, we are all set. Welcome everybody. Just give me 1 second. We're live on Facebook Live on the Councilwoman Odette Ramos Facebook page. So you're welcome to share it from there. Alrighty. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is very exciting. We have a lot going on. So before I introduce our guests, I just want to welcome everyone. I'm Odette Ramos, your City Councilwoman for the 14th District in Baltimore City. This is a very exciting time for our city. There's a lot going on. And as we're coming out of COVID, there's definitely a lot to consider and accomplish. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. So before I get into my guests, I just want to do some announcements. There are still plenty of opportunities to get vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated, we will be having some other vaccine clinics in the district. There are a bunch of events this weekend, both in the district and outside of the district, celebrating Halloween and also Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. And then if you're going out Halloween trick-or-treating on Sunday, just be careful. We are still in a pandemic and a lot of our young people are not vaccinated. So keep those masks on, stay distanced, and try not to have all the young people gather all in one place as they grab candy here and there. So just be careful there. And for those of you who may have seen in my weekly newsletter that comes out on Mondays, we had some really good victories recently to pass a lot of 5 of my tax sale bills, trying to help people stay out of tax sale as we move forward on making sure that we're actually reforming the system. So there's more to do, but that was exciting for being my almost first year. So today we are very excited to have Director Steve Sharkey, who is the director of the Department of Transportation, and several team members that will introduce themselves. And this is also a big moment in our city around transit, transportation, traffic calming. And in my district, aside from public safety, education, and water bills, the next big thing is traffic calming. So we're going to talk a bit about that as well, and go for really talking sort of broadly about transportation policy, and then very specifically into some of the projects that are happening in our district. But I thought it would be really important for our constituents to really know and understand what the Department of Transportation is all about, and also the sort of real rethinking of what the department is doing. It's no longer just about getting people the fastest from point A to point B. So excited to have you, Director Sharkey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate the invitation. So I would just like to show off my team. This is a good little squad we got going here. So we got Will Haynes, Chief of Traffic. We got Damian Taylor, Deputy Chief of Traffic. Liam Davis, who is the Intergovernmental Affairs guy. Don't know what, just know Liam. Everybody knows Liam. He's just Liam, right? He doesn't even need a title, right? Graham Young, of course, everybody knows Graham as well. And Tiffany Walker, who you probably also all know from her DPW, and we did a nice little snatch up and stole her from DPW. I was super excited when we pulled that one off. So it was a good move on our part. So this is the team we have today. So thank you.
It's a great team. I really, and also a hardworking team, because I know in my district we keep you all very busy. So it's great to have all of you here. So Director, tell me a little bit, sort of general philosophy about the department. How you're thinking about things moving forward. Some of the big sort of like Vision Zero and some other big things that you all are thinking about.
Well, let me just first give like a quick hit on like all the things DOT does. So
Yes.
DOT is massive and it's got all these different little things that we do, big things, little things, everything. So, probably the most interesting thing that we do, which is different from the rest of the state, is that we are the only um, jurisdiction in Maryland that controls and manages state roads as well as city roads. The only jurisdiction. So we manage every road in the city except for the tolled roads, which is 95 and parts of 295 and 895. Well,
Okay.
really 295 we actually do all of actually. So
Right.
really parts of that. So it's quite the undertaking in terms of the roads in the city. That's been the historic look at DOT, but we also have ticket writers, we have traffic safety, we have we have the circulator, which again is very well known, but is a very small portion of our operations. Street lights, we maintain many street lights compared to other cities. We have a conduit system. So a conduit system, and that's very not normal for a city to own own and operate its own conduit system. So it's a conduit system with underground basically pipes that push out or that allow either BGE electricity or your internet cables to get to your houses. And we charge the fees to the users. So let me even think about the other divisions. The maintenance division fills potholes, maintains bike lanes, special events. We do some work at the Inner Harbor. So if you see somebody at a special event and somebody put up all the traffic things around it, that's us. If you see somebody has put the barriers up and even the tables there, that's us. So DOT is extremely wide ranging. Tons of people doing tons of different things, all working really, really hard. And if I missed any sections or divisions, I'll try to come back to them later. So very, and of course snow as well. So that's kind of been the way. I would say that, the department has been changing over the last couple of years along with the city. And it's definitely a mindset shift that I have seen. So I've worked for the city for 15 years in different functions. Been with DOT for over 2 years now. Before this, I was at DGS, which actually had some transportation functions in it for whatever reason. I jettisoned them over to DOT and then later ended up coming to DOT. So I knew the people already that I had sent over, which were the right-of-way division, which is the permitting of special events and roadway usage. Also very important. So they came over. So it's changed, the world has changed over time. And I've noticed it being in City Hall, starting at the mayor's office as an intern until now. The word always was, hey, how do I get out of the city as fast as I can? And it was always, well, let's move the cars the fastest. And it turns out that, as in many other urban locations, getting the cars in and out the fastest isn't necessarily the best thing for the residents that live there. Fast cars can cause more accidents, namely speed is the number one cause of accident, can make it harder for pedestrians to walk. And it can also, change, of course, besides that, takes away the community feel with the speed and the noise, depending upon what place you are. So that's sort of a change in mindset that has happened in the city. One of the most important, I guess, pieces of that was a couple years ago was the city council passed the Complete Streets legislation. Now, the Complete Streets legislation mandates the city as a whole, so this is not just DOT, give priority to certain types of users, which is not how we historically looked at roads. So right now, the number one most important type of road user is pedestrians. Everybody is a pedestrian. If you come into the city, there's a point in time where you walk. So, but the pedestrians are the most, I guess, in the most danger, because obviously a car versus a person in terms of size is very important. So the kids crossing to school, the person jogging, person just walking to the local store to get their dinner. it's all pedestrians. So the pedestrian safety is the number one most important critical factor as we make decisions in the future about roads. So the second is bicycle safety slash transit. So bicycle safety and transit are very important as well. Of course, we want to keep bicyclists safe in a very urban setting. Baltimore is still a very urban city, has quite the density, and making a livable city can include bicycling, or it does include bicycling, which of course also reduces carbon footprint and makes you healthy. But also transit, and transit's really my number one reason why I came to the job, is transit gets people to where they need to go in this city. This is a bus town. Baltimore is a bus town. Census changed, 28% of people in households in Baltimore own 0 cars. So that means more than 1 out of every 4 households has 0 cars. And that's households. That means there's a lot of households with only 1 car. That means that probably 50 to 60% of the people that need to get around Baltimore use the bus. And again, I know a lot of us on this Zoom call have our own car, have that access, and that's good for us. But that's not what a lot of our residents need each day. They need that bus to get there to and from on time. Since I've joined the department, I've really kind of focused our efforts on creating a partnership with MTA. I can't fix all of MTA's problems, and they can't fix all of ours, but we can work together much more effectively. So just from day to day working together, planning projects, as well as some larger projects, which include the East-West corridor, which we have some funding towards and have put in federal grants. And this would be and this is something that a lot of other cities are doing, just giving the buses a little bit more priority. Some places that could mean bus lanes to get them through faster, especially on East-West in Baltimore. Also transit signal priority. So MTA worked with us in the past to put in some transit signal priority, but now we're working together with them more. And hopefully as we work together, we can garner more attention and money to improve those things for the bus riders, because the buses is a system. And as you improve one part of the system, the other parts improve. So we're happy with our improved partnerships with MTA. There'll be more to come from there, but they are they really work. We're very happy with that and want to continue that. And then of course the last road user on the pyramid of complete streets is the drivers. Now of course drivers are again 29% of resident households have no cars. It means 71% of households do have cars. So we do still want to give safe roads and safe passage for the drivers. But of course, we want to follow the modal hierarchy and make sure that everybody that's in Baltimore can safely use the roads in different ways. I would like to show a video very quickly about complete streets, at about a 2-minute video. Is that okay? All right, give me 1 second.
I need to give you permissions. Hold on a second. Let me do that.
Let's see.
Okay, you should have permissions to share your screen or however you want to do it. And I think there's a way. This is Zoom, it's not Teams. So I think when you share your video, there's also a command to share the sound.
Oh, let me see. I'll push the button. Let's see can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, I'll push the button. Let me see if the sound comes up.
Baltimore's new complete streets map.
Yes.
Source to help make better decisions about how the changes to our streets happen. It promotes safety and equity by giving the highest priority to the most vulnerable street users amongst us. It does this by considering all the ways people get around our city and prioritizes making it safer, easier, and more enjoyable to walk, take the bus, or ride a scooter. So what does this mean for you? It means the new design features that make it easier and safe for you to cross the street, letting you better connect with your neighborhood or with your destination. It means curb space can be better managed to make it easier to drop off or pick people up, create space for deliveries, and provide room for a nicer sidewalk experience, which benefits areas around the community. And it means that most of the car-oriented streets can be made safer and more welcoming to you, however you choose to get around. Check out the Baltimore Complete Streets Manual online at this address. City violence, Wednesday evening around 6.
All right, I guess I'll try to unshare. I don't know how to do that, so.
You can, it should say at the top, stop share. There you go.
Are we good? Are we back? Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should have just shown that video first. It does a much better job and more concise than I am, but I gave you the details first and now it refreshed it in your minds. So that's kind of a look at the complete streets. I want to just give a little bit more talk about the infrastructure of the city and how complete streets will be implemented over time. So I think that, people have realized that, we need to make the roads safer and really focus on that over time. It's really become more of a thing for people. And of course, the need and desire for different forms of traffic calming has increased over time, or greatly over time. And especially now that many people are sitting at home all day, working, and then they hear a traffic accident outside and they say, oh, they need to do something about this. So not only has it increased over time, now more people are seeing, what happens on the roadway. So it's people are asking for it, and we are trying our best to respond. But again, with limited time, dollars, and funding, we are working on it as much as we can. So the needs are great, and the dollars/team is working very hard on what they can do, which is limited in terms of the funding, of course. But it is exciting. We've more than doubled the number of traffic engineering staff, in-house traffic engineering staff in DOT. So we're, as we have more and more, or try to reallocate resources over time, we're going to continue to try to add to traffic calming. And of course, all complete streets modes. In the long term, streets, we're going to redo streets over time, but again, limited funding takes time. But as we redo each street, so that would be major resurfacing, major streetscaping, or bridges being done, that's especially when the newer complete streets mindset will always be added to every street. So that's why we're going to probably increases the cost 20% for each road, but it also makes the road that much safer and more enjoyable for the people of that neighborhood. And we also have quick build treatments that we've started about 2 years ago or last summer. Quick build treatments, you'll probably see some of the flex posts out there in daylighting. So daylighting is when there's flex posts around an intersection, which allows the parking to not go right up against the road, and gives more sight lines to drivers. So these are just some small things that people don't necessarily notice, but they make the roads much safer. And we try to add as many of all of these things as possible. But like I said before, the needs, the needs are quite large. So overall, we have many projects in the works, many things we're working on, and we're excited to continue to, try to make the roads safer, both for drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists. So that's definitely, what we're trying to add to over time. Some other programs to mention are the speed camera program. We have a number of speed and red light cameras throughout the city. So red light cameras, especially right-hand turns on reds, are very dangerous for pedestrians, but also speeding through a red light is also dangerous for everybody in that intersection. So we have a number, over 100 cameras in the city for those. And then we also have well over 100 speed cameras. And if every block that wanted one, I'd probably have, 3,000 or something. But we can't put one on every corner. We want to be able to over time actually make the road conditions less conducive to speeding as we move forwards. Of course, we just want to make those roads safe. Hey guys, is there anything big that I'm missing here? Like Will or Tiffany? No? Okay. All right.
Original.
I'll,
Well, the
Would-
Vision Zero piece, which is really
yes.
around the intersections, right?
yeah, so we're starting to work, and we've been working on something that's in other cities, very common, and it's Vision Zero. So we are now choosing, based on data, 15 intersections, 15 of the intersections with the highest crash rates, and getting those redone. It'll take some time, but we do have the money. And so those 15 intersections, which I don't have a list of right now, will be looked at and made safer through, it could be lane reduction or different signalization, lots of different treatments that traffic engineers can fully explain, that make the intersection safer, make the cars slow down, or make the drivers that might not be able to see what they should be able to see those things. So it's so as of now, a lot of the communities, we're going out to the communities that do have them, and talking to them about it. And of course, after these all get done, we will be moving towards more. And this is exciting too, because for all the things that I'm doing here, or we are doing here, that I've done since I've been here, is to make it easy for the staff to do things. So procurement and purchasing and paperwork in Baltimore City is extremely difficult. But we were able to get, early on in my tenure, a striping contract. That was just a striping. You'll see way more striping around the city happening in bike and flex posts because of that striping contract, because it was a contract that was easier to use. We also now have a bike ped contract, which can also be used for the Vision Zero. So it takes away a lot of it doesn't take away all of them. So let me not get people too excited, but it takes away a lot of the administrative hurdles for the employees to get these things done. So I'm excited about that other contract. And with the last 2 years fiscal funding, we've put a lot in. This will allow for more bike lanes, more pedestrian projects. So I'm excited that we're figuring out ways to give the tools to the employees to do these types of complete streets things. Some of these are shorter term. And then of course, when we do major road reconstruction, that will be in the longer term as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the opportunity for you all to be a much more flexible, using the flex post, no puns intended, and also the striping. We do have a question in the chat about a specific project, and we're going to get to specific things in the district in just a minute. So I will definitely answer that question. But I think that there's so many demands. I remember during the capital budget, you had this kind of ridiculous figure of all of the various things that you want to be able to do and that are demands, but you don't have enough money. Do you recall what that number is that you need to, if we had all this money, we could do everything that we wanted? It was something big.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I just got I had somebody send me the updated one, which is
Okay.
more recent. So give me 1 second.
Sure, no worries.
While the
But
director's I was going to say,
Liam.
yeah, while the director's looking that up, one of the tasks the director has kind of assigned us on the team is to revise our traffic calming policy. So there is something coming down the pike. But as we were discussing it today as a team, what nearly made me fall out of my seat was hearing that in calendar year 2020, there were over 16,000 reported crashes. That's reported. So we're averaging 45 to 50 per day. So that should give people a sense of the scale of the issue. Because we do get requests where people are like, we saw another crash here, and we're really trying our best to respond to these as quickly as we can and really address the hazardous situations.
Well, I looked up, I've asked BPD to look up crash data in my district. And for the stretch of the Alameda between 33rd and Loch Raven, in the last 5 months, there's been 25 crashes. That's significant, right? That's huge. So I actually, as you know, I have a humongous spreadsheet of all of my requests, and we'll be prioritizing them based on crash data and also other factors. So, I mean, the fact that we have this, and I imagine Liam or anybody might have the data also on the fact that we have more crashes and more speeding now, particularly after the pandemic, or well, not out of it yet, but you know, it was something, you know, people kept speeding even after we were out of the shutdown.
So,
So this is the capital budget. Go ahead.
yeah, let me just mention one thing about that speeding. So the speeding has not abated, but you're right that after March, April of 2020, there was a monstrous boost. It finally did start going down, which is, I guess, good news, because then there's a little bit less speeding as more and more people have come out on the roads. But the red light camera numbers are shooting up, so people are still not necessarily all being good actors on the road. I believe I put this up. Hopefully we can see it. This is just a little look at the estimated capital needs for DOTs. So this is just the DOT capital needs, not including conduits, because that's kind of a separate deal. But our estimated needs is $1.3 billion. So yeah, and I just said that $1.3 billion. And the infrastructure is getting older each year. So, and it's just 657 for sidewalks, bridges 435 million. So, and we've been working on a lot of bridge projects. So this is the capital needs that the city has. We're usually getting, I think, end up spending about 60 to 70, maybe a little more per year. So again, 60 to 70 to 1.3 billion. There's just many underfunded capital needs within not just DOT, but also DGS and the rest of the city. So the needs are great in DOT. We do our best to maximize, and we're, like we said, we're putting in those complete streets pieces as much as possible. But we're doing our best, but the funding is not there. So just to say that, and while I have you and I have this, let me put up one other slide, which is interesting to show, and I just think people don't necessarily understand. This is a little bit, wait, hold on. There it is. This is a little bit hard to see, but if you look at this, this is the amount of highway user revenue. So this is, say, like gas taxes and get mainly gas taxes and toll taxes, or tolls and some other general fundings that comes from the state, that comes to DOT, or it comes to the city, because we manage the state roads. Well, so if you look, the city used to get 200, 220, 226. This is before the Great Recession, used to get over $200 million a year from the state. Then during the Great Recession, it was greatly cut, 2009, 2010. And it's never rebounded. There's been just these formulas or something that have really not allowed the city to rebound. So there's still the same amount of roads in the city, and there's the same amount of people driving on them, Marylanders driving on them. However, the amount of money has not rebounded. The state revenue has not rebounded. So just a little tidbit / knowledge for you guys about how we're still have way less money coming in than when I was in graduate school, and I'm not a young man, so so just another.
I'm glad that you showed this, and I probably have it somewhere in my email if you don't mind sending it back to me. But this is actually an issue statewide. I represent the city council on the MACO legislative committee, and we just voted to make these issues of the highway user funds, a big deal, and to try to get it back to that stage where what we had before in 2007, because it's 100 million. It's not the 1.3 billion that we need, but it's more than we had, and so we certainly want to, please consider me a partner in this to try to get this funding for us and any other funding we can possibly get, because the demands just in my district, I would imagine, is, pretty substantial. And then, of course, we have the maintenance of some of our older, infrastructure that luckily we're able to get federal money for, but it's still not enough. So I'm really glad that you were able to show this, and hopefully you can, send that over to me, and we can work together on making sure that we have, the adequate funding to, well, not even adequate, the funding that you need. I mean, 1.3 billion with a B dollars that we need to actually fulfill every single need is critical. And again, it's just as you said, the pedestrian piece being the, one of the first things that we need to think about. There's so much there that needs to be done. I really appreciate that. So that's wonderful. So you can take that down now if you'd like. You know how to do that. Let me see if I can do that for you. There we go. So yeah, I think it's really important, and we will work together on this and work with our General Assembly partners, because having more money is extremely important. And then any other way that we can find another billion with a B to be able to that would be great. So if anybody out there has good ideas, let us know. I am excited about the new way that you're thinking about things. I know that 28th and St. Paul, it's not in my district, but we were able to put a treatment there, and it has made all the difference. And so it leads into the 28th and 29th Street corridor I share with Councilman Stokes. And so there have been a lot of concerns there, but having that treatment right there on that intersection has really made a huge difference. And all it was flex posts and paint, and it was great. So, and it still is. So knock on wood, we haven't had many crashes there since that happened, or any, I think. And we have a lot of people that are interested in it. So I am glad. And of course, the regular work that DOT does, the paving, the snow, which we'll talk about in a minute, and everything else, you need that funding, and we're just excited about working with you on that. So I did send you a list of some specific projects in my district so that we can get an update. My spreadsheet is very long, and we're not going to be able to talk about all of them today, but I did want people to know a few things about what specific projects that are happening in the district that DOT is working on. And before I do that, I do want to thank Mr. Taylor and Liam and Graham, really, and now working more with Mr. Haynes and Ms. Walker, have really given us a great amount of attention, and I really appreciate it. It's been really great working with all of you, and I look forward to continuing to do that. So Heidi, there's a couple of questions in the chat about funding. Hold on a second.
Could I just wanted to make two plugs. One thing I completely forgot is that we do oversee the scooter program. And also there's an event, it's called the Lake to Lake event on November 6th at Lake Montebello. So we're, trying to make more connections between park spaces in Baltimore. And it's exciting. It just seemed to be, actually the amount of people bicycling during the pandemic increased greatly. So we're trying to increase both pedestrian and bicycle safety in a lot of these places.
Yeah, so that particular project is traffic calming on 33rd and Hillen. It is not right now about a trail between Druid Hill Park and Lake Montebello, although that is something that is with the Greenway Trails Network being talked about. But so the lake to lake, so what we're seeing on November 6th will be the completion of the traffic calming on 33rd and Hillen. And I saw some new striping there today, so it looks like it's happening. And a lot of people participated in thinking about that intersection. So I am a runner. I run all over the district, and I don't use that intersection to get to Lake Montebello because it's treacherous. And so I go around to 32nd Street and then go up, and other people take it from Lakeside. So I'm hoping that we can make that intersection. It looks like it's going to be good. And then there was a lot of art. So that's, and then November 6th is sort of the unveiling. So I'll make sure that everybody is gets the invitation to that. So there was a question in here about funding real quick, which is, it seems like there's a lot of funding for projects in the harbor area and not so much up here. Is there like a separate fund for the harbor area, or is that just something where, you know, you look at the data and figure out what's needed?
I know that there's some federal funds that came through for the harbor based upon the pedestrian usage. So if you look at a map of pedestrian accidents in the city, the inner harbor, the area north of inner harbor is by far the reddest portion of the map. So I know about the pedestrian project up there. I don't know about the other projects folks are talking about in the harbor, but that's, I know the biggest one that might have been on whatever particular list it was.
The other, just wanted to throw this out there too, Councilwoman, is like in the harbor areas, I think that's where we've seen a lot of, like in recent decades, the concentration of like the TIF financed infrastructure, and you know, sometimes there's developers agreements, but it's not, there's not like a separate, like a major fund within DOT that's financing like all this pedestrian stuff down there, infrastructure stuff.
No, you're right that some of these, not only TIFs, but developers agreements have fixed a lot of that down there. And I guess that would have been part of, say, Harbor East over many years ago. I mean, I guess we're going back 20 plus years for that, and Harbor Point. So Harbor Point was developed and built by using the funds of the developer to fix the site. So that was but again, through a TIF, which Liam, if you want to explain TIFs, like my mind's not
We've
fully...
discussed them before. We can talk about those. It's another financing mechanism for development, but yeah. So it sounds like some of the stuff that we're seeing downtown is much more project specific, and it's either funded by the TIF, or it's funded by a TIF, or funded by a developer agreement, which means that the developer is actually paying for that. And so
we did do the streetscape of Key Highway, which made Key Highway much safer. But so I guess that was something but that was completed over 2 years ago. So.
And then, depending on some of the work that's coming up, for instance, the work that was done on St. Paul Street, on the 31 and 3200 block of St. Paul Street, that was actually a developer agreement, and Johns Hopkins paid for that particular streetscape and traffic calming that went in there. So, so we have sort of this $1.3 billion worth of infrastructure needs, and some of that might get paid for by an agreement because there's some work to do, but most of the time when you see that kind of developer agreement type of work, it's because that's what the developer wanted. And so that's an example of that in our district is that St. Paul Street.
And I think it's challenging sometimes because people see the brand new shiny infrastructure next to the brand new shiny building, and they assume a lot of times it's the city kind of doing that. But really, within our right-of-way division at DOT, they do a really good job trying to get the most out of the developers for public good. So they're negotiating these developers agreements and improving the right-of-way with developer dollars, so we're not using taxpayer dollars all the time. So it's just a creative way to address a lot of our capital needs.
Yeah. And so some specific, we have two people in the chat talking about traffic calming on East University Parkway by Union Memorial Hospital. That was on my spreadsheet, but I didn't give that one to you. I think that's something that we definitely want to bring to your attention. And residents of East University Parkway and Oakenshaw had a meeting with NDC because they're doing a huge design of University Parkway from Cold Spring Lane all the way down to Barclay Street. And so the concern, just so you know, and then we'll get into the projects I sent you, traffic calming walk through, she'd like a traffic calming walkthrough on University Parkway by Union Memorial Hospital. So I had sent that request to Ms. Walker a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, and it's just they're scheduling. So if we can make that happen, that would be great. And then somebody talked specifically about University Parkway, particularly the intersection of University Parkway and Guilford, which is right at Union Memorial Hospital. There are no crosswalks or flex posts, lots of cars, lots of speeders, and of course the light at Barclay, 33rd, and University Parkway is pretty crazy intersection. So we'll get that scheduled, Heidi and Anthony. It would be great to have DOT there with us. And those are very specific, so that's great. So I appreciate that. Harford Road Bridge was one of the ones that I gave you. We're excited to have all of the traffic calming that's coming up along with Harford Road Bridge. And it goes into something that one of the audience members also had concerned about Erdman Avenue. So obviously when we talk about Harford Road, we want to talk about traffic calming on Erdman, which we just got a speed camera on Erdman. So thank you very much for that camera on Erdman Avenue. Really appreciate it. So the bridge reopening and then the status of the traffic calming.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. I guess, do you mean the traffic calming on, you were cracking or breaking up a little bit. Will you say the traffic calming on what, Erdman? Oh, here we go. Graham's even, that's Graham's kind of
So,
almost.
yeah, I mixed up a couple of things there because to me that area is all the same. So there's, we just got a speed camera on Erdman Avenue, both sides, so that that hopefully will help one of our folks in the chat who lives on Erdman. But we also have the Harford Road Bridge and then the traffic calming that's supposed to happen on the bridge as well as on Harford Road, so that we're not getting a speedway again like we had before the bridge closed.
Yeah, I can speak to the Harford Road project at least. It's looking like construction on that is going to wrap up around January or so, which does present some issues with opening the bridge at that time because you can't do striping work in the winter. So if your paving work finishes right before that, you know, we're trying to make the decision, do we open it up with temporary striping, knowing that it won't be the ultimate configuration we're going to put down, and we're going to have to continually maintain a setup where like temporary tape comes up from snowplows and things like that? Or do we just wait till the spring and open it back up with the final configuration that reduces the number of lanes, provides more space for people biking, walking, and then also a dedicated bus lane on the bridge? For the Erdman Avenue, I guess, Will, your group is working specifically at the intersection of Erdman and Harford on a safety improvement project.
Yeah, we performed basically a roadway safety audit, actually just yesterday. We actually were in the field, and the whole concept of an audit is to take a multidisciplinary team out in the field. So we had someone who was a bike expert, someone who was a signal expert, someone who was an expert in ADA compliance, so on and so forth. And we actually collectively met in the field. A lot of our meetings happen on platforms such as this. And I think it's going to be much more effective for us to meet actually on site and have those meetings right there where we can see the issues. And so it's an approach that I'm trying to promote for all the requests we get from communities. Hey, let's get a team together and go out there and actually talk about it while we're actually in the environment, and we can exchange and dialogue about the issues that we're seeing right in front of us. And so we were there actually yesterday. We looked at the intersection of Harford and Erdman, and also Harford and 32nd. and just, took a bunch of notes, shared ideas, took a bunch of photos. And ultimately what we're going to develop is a brief report. And this helps us be more proactive. Instead of waiting on you guys to reach out to us, we want to come to you and say, hey, we've noticed these sets of issues, and here's our plan to address these in a short, intermediate, and long-term fashion. So, that goes for all the communities that we're going into. We won't be able to do it every single time. Obviously, we have way more requests than we do staff to attack everyone in the same manner, but that's going to sort of be a model moving forward for the most part.
Yeah, that's intersection has been problematic. The oldest house in the community gets hit frequently. That's why the bollards are there. And so we're hoping that there's some safety there. And I'm glad you were out there. It's important to me that it's okay with me to delay the opening of the bridge so that we can get the striping correct, and that we can get all the traffic calming that we need in the other areas as much as possible, because once the bridge opens, it's it's going to be a lot. So I hope that we can do that. And Lisa's thing in the chat is, I love doing tours and bringing residents out with you. And that way you all can talk to them about what they're seeing, and also, hear from them. So, when I certainly want to bring you all out again. We just had a request for East University Parkway, but also several folks met with some constituents of mine while I was away, but Gabe was there from my office on the Alameda and 35th Street. So, love to be able to be there when you're doing that. So it sounds like things are moving forward, but I would say if we can make sure that all the striping is done and all the traffic calming is done before the bridge is open, and that would be great. We waited this long. We can wait a couple more months. So that would be good. I mentioned the Alameda from 33rd to Loch Raven. Does anybody have an update on that one? I'm skipping some of these because we don't have enough time, but I wanted to get some of those.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that location one more time?
The Alameda from 33rd to Loch Raven. Loch Raven and the Alameda go like this. Right. And so it would be the Alameda from right when you're past City College and you're going up the Alameda to Loch Raven.
Yeah, I think for that one, so just to let you know, we took the spreadsheet you all provided, and we're actually using that as now a tracking sheet to just track kind of what's the status, what data do we need to collect.
Yeah, so we're all working from the same spreadsheet, which is great. So I appreciate that.
And we're happy to share this back with you with updates at some point in time. So forgive me, I have to actually look this up on the spreadsheet.
That's fine.
But Damien, who was introduced earlier, who's the deputy chief, I've been with the city for about 4.5 months, or 3.5 months, excuse me. He does have a lot of the history. So Damien, I'll throw it to you while I look in the spreadsheet, but feel free to chime in if you have some input.
Yeah, we're still collecting data on that area to see what we can do to make just to slow down the traffic, because we know that's the big concern. Myself and Noor are still looking at some things that when we were out at the meeting with the community, we're still throwing some things around, trying to come up with a few possibilities to present.
Yeah, normally what we'll do is we obviously get speed data. We try to get crash data for at least the last 3 to 5 years, just so we can get a sense of what some of the patterns are. And then also, if we can, get volume data so we can get a sense of just what the peak periods are. And so when we go out and we observe conditions, we're doing it at the right time. So once we get that information, we'll pull that together and make a determination on what measures would be appropriate. Obviously, everyone loves speed humps, but as Liam was talking about earlier, we're trying to develop a broader tool set of measures that help to calm traffic. And so once we kind of come up with a concept or some thoughts around that, then we will want to come back to you and sort of propose ideas, make sure we get buy-in from your constituents.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to mention speed bumps. I've got way too many requests. I mean, not way too many for us to talk about today, because there are a lot. But I do want to look at alternatives, because it could be something that can be done with flex posts, intersection changes, that kind of thing. We had a question about the 33rd and Hillen. Is there going to be a pedestrian buttons to cross the street on 33rd and Hillen? I think they're supposed to be.
So I guess, is this in reference to the south leg? I guess I'm trying to think of. So as part of the project that's going in now, the striping and the artwork, with it being quick build, that kind of means that we're not doing many changes to the traffic signal infrastructure. So we're not putting in like new things. But separately, our traffic signal section, I know they're looking at and designing, there's missing pedestrian signals on the south side of that intersection that they're planning on putting in.
Okay,
So
I think that was the question. Yeah, so great. And then what is the, we had a couple of new stop signs put in, but they didn't have the stop sign bar that goes with it. Is that standard? Do we usually, when you put a stop sign, you have a stripe that goes with the stop sign?
Yeah, the stop bar. Yeah, I've spoken to our maintenance team to address those areas that had the sign installed without the stop bar. So they're going to get those installed.
And it's
Yeah,
different crews that do that. It's not the same guys do it the same day. There's guys that put the stop sign in, there's guys that do the striping. So it doesn't always match up exactly.
Right. Yeah, no, that would be a big help, because part of having a new stop sign in is for people to actually know that there's a stop sign there. And having the stop sign bar would be great. We just have a couple more minutes of our time together. One of the things, Argonne Drive from Greenmount to the Alameda. There's a separate request for the Alameda to Loch Raven. I think, Mr. Teller, you said somebody's working on that one, Argonne Drive to between Greenmount Avenue and the Alameda.
Yeah, that's something we're also looking into. It has been assigned, and right now we're in the process of collecting data. I know that's the update we have for a lot of these, but we are collecting data there. That does sort of overlap with another request that we got for Argonne Drive between Ellerslie and Alameda. So we're kind of looking.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we occasionally we will get multiple requests for the same thing. So we've consolidated those two requests, and right now in the process of collecting the data. And I think, was there a camera also part of that? I'm looking at the list here.
The camera request was for Argonne Drive between the Alameda and Loch Raven.
Okay.
But my understanding is that it's not close enough to a school, so we may not get it.
Well, I mean, I just want to clarify that had been a discussion we had internally over the last couple of days. And it wouldn't solely be whether or not you have a school that dictates whether a speed camera would go in. It's really about some of the other factors. If there are high speeds, if there's heavy pedestrian traffic, if there are conflicts, we would still want to pursue looking at some sort of automated enforcement, at least evaluating whether it's feasible there and whether it's necessary. So I don't think a school would be a deal breaker if there is no school there, because there are other people, as Director Sharkey was mentioning earlier, everybody walks. And so there may be other people in that community who still are walking around, biking around, scooting around. So I wouldn't say that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, I thought that they were only going by schools.
Yeah, no, I don't think the school is the issue in that location. So much of, but not all of the city has to be covered by schools. Liam, is it a quarter of a mile or half a mile from a school?
The state school zone speed limit threshold is within 1/2 mile.
Half a mile. So much of, not all, but much of the city is covered. But I believe there's other factors sometimes with say there's parking on the road that makes it harder for the cameras to pick up. There's some other factors. So I don't know about that location. We'll have to have somebody look to see if there is a school there or not. But most of the time we usually can fit one in an area. But again, there are other factors, engineering factors, that preclude some places from getting them.
Yeah, the St. Elizabeth school is within a half a mile of the majority of that segment, which it may have been, overlooked at first because generally people aren't walking to the St. Elizabeth school, but still qualifies technically.
Well, we're about to get that new shopping center across the street. And so that's actually going to produce a lot of pedestrian traffic going up there. But it's also, we've got Morgan on the other side as well. So, I would appreciate just, looking into that as well. We're running out of time. So I just want to thank you all for coming. I do want to make another plug for helping. My understanding, Liam, is that you all will also be looking into the lowering the speed limit or changing the speed limit bill in the General Assembly again this year, because we really want our attendees and anyone on Facebook or wherever you see this video to write to your delegation to get that bill passed. Do you want to explain it?
Sure.
I'll jump in here. This is Steve. So we're definitely looking, it's not necessarily just to lower the speeds, but it's to make the speeds appropriate to the type of road. So state legislation requires certain things that have to be done to change the speed on any particular road. We are as part of the Complete Streets process, we're creating a typology of road types. So these will be types of roads. We're looking to search for the ability to set the speed limit based on the type of road. So we'll be taking the roads, making typologies, and then choosing what typology particular roads are, and then being able to choose speeds that are the most safe for those roads on particular roads. So it would be decrease the administrative and time burden. So we could lower possibly lower where needed the speeds at the appropriate times with a less hoops to jump through. So that's what we're looking for.
Right. I've simplified it, but it's not like, you're going to lower the speed limit because the councilwoman wants it 10 miles an hour. There's actually standards and, for what's appropriate for the road. So it wouldn't be subjective. That would be, I think people would be upset at me for lowering everything to 10 miles an hour, which I'd be happy to do, but it's not going to happen. So, so once we get that number out, we certainly want the number of the bill. We want people to write to their their state delegation about that. And then, I will certainly be helpful in any way possible on the HUR funds, because we do need more money to do this work. And so, it's really important that we looked at how important the state level stuff is to be able to do our work here in the city. So this is one of those examples. So I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. We could talk a lot about every single project and every single corner of my district, but I do appreciate all the work that you're doing in the district, and we'll work together through that spreadsheet, do more walkthroughs, and just want to thank you all for taking the time to be with me on a Wednesday evening. I know you all have families, and it looks like 2 of you are actually still in the office. And so that's pretty amazing, and I really appreciate it. And there's a lot more that we can cover, and we'll do that at some other time. But please consider me a partner in trying to advocate for the right funding and whatever you need to continue to make sure that our pedestrians are safe, that our vehicles, people driving are safe, and that we have the infrastructure that we need in our city. So I really appreciate your time. And to those of you who joined us today in the audience on Facebook and on Zoom, and then later on YouTube, really appreciate your time. There's so much more that we could be talking about with DOT, and so we'll bring them back another time as well. And so have a great night and have a great weekend, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.